Hey everyone, I'm excited to share this video with you. It's the first video I made for my channel, and it took me about a month to put together. It's pretty much a condensed version of how to learn and succeed in coursework. It's the stuff I wish I knew before I signed up for university. I hope it helps you. Hey everyone, and welcome to Al's OT Review. This video is on Al's OT study skills. The purpose of this presentation is to go over study skills and qualities that helped me in my academic career, from undergrad all throughout OT school. More importantly, these principles helped me pass the NBC OT exam. This presentation will help shed light on what worked for me. Hopefully, it will help you as well. We'll walk through the components of succeeding as an OT student, including components of the right mindset and some mindfulness activities, and at the end of the video, I will go over Al's rules, principles that enabled me to succeed in OT school. Even if some of my strategies don't entirely translate to how you learn, it will shed light on how to play to your strengths and be the best possible student. Keep in mind that these principles are based on my experience. Everyone has different academic goals. I happen to value getting good grades. If you want to succeed, and if you also value good grades, then stick around. I think you'll learn a thing or two. Heads up. This video is more relevant to undergrad students and students in the OT program. If you want to go directly to the OT exam review, no problem. Just click here. If you know anyone in undergrad or still in OT school who you think would benefit from learning how to learn, feel free to share my video with them. If you're watching this video, you're going to hear my thoughts on learning effective academic habits, strategies for approaching coursework, and what qualities are associated with the mindset for success. I will also go over a couple mindfulness strategies to improve your ability to focus. Who doesn't need that? I wish there was a course on how to learn and get good grades in university. Instead, lectures dive straight into course material. In OT school, professors teach us about universal design for learning, and my classmates and I all sat there thinking, yeah, if we could have something like this for university, that would be great. Education is a full-time job. This means at least 40 hours a week dedicated to your education. Then factor in sleep, personal time, exercise, social time, meal prep, and whatever else we have going on. Being a student in the OT program is your primary occupation. If you have to work, it's going to be tougher. You're not the first, and you're not the last, but it will make your experience more challenging. Chances are, realistically, you will sleep less and rely on caffeine more. As you strive for balance, this will be an uphill battle. It will build and reveal character. You should write out all of the dates of the exams, assignment due dates, presentation dates, etc. on your calendar. Next to this, write down the course weight. If you're a visual person, it would help to get those giant calendars. After you write out all the important dates on a giant calendar, understand how you're going to be assessed. Is it exams, papers, presentations, something else? If it's an exam, what is the format? You should know how you're going to be assessed. What this means is, you should know what you need to excel in order to be positioned well. Take, for example, a course where the midterm is worth 30% and the final is worth 70%. This is not the course you want to cram for 1 week before the final. So understand how you're going to be evaluated, because realistically, not all important dates will require the same effort or attention. I want to take a moment to talk about SMART goals. If you're in the OT program, you've probably seen this as it relates to therapy goals for patients. If you're an undergrad student, learn this today. It will help you be honest with yourself. This is an example of a SMART goal. In the first 2 weeks of the semester, I will write out all the deadlines and their course weight as listed from the syllabus on my giant calendar and place it on the wall. Another SMART goal. I will go to the gym 3 times a week. Once a week, I will participate in a registered class. 1 time a week, I will do the bike or elliptical for 30 to 40 minutes, and the other time, I will do 30 to 60 minutes of resistive activities. So let's break down what a SMART goal is. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-oriented. So whether you're average Joe, Warren Buffett, or a lazy Susan, you only have 24 hours in a day. This is how you should break it down. 8 hours a day for school and class, 8 hours a day for outside school. This includes meal prep, social life, extracurriculars, studying, exercise, 8 hours a day for sleep. It's true that 1 hour of your day is about 4% of your day. You'll find that time flies, and you'll really have to be disciplined in order to get the grades that you want. You should be spending 8 hours a day for school and class, with 4 hours a day doing homework after class. That's right, 4 hours. That doesn't leave you much personal time or free time. If you value personal time or downtime, you will have to find other areas of your life to sacrifice. I'm not going to go over nutrition in detail, but I will say a few words about sleep. As a society, we wear limited sleep like a badge of honor. Sleep is critical. It affects all aspects of your life. The occasional all-nighter is understandable, but it should be the exception, not the rule. So how can you employ good sleep hygiene? You can limit naps, these are hit or miss, cut caffeine after 3 p.m., and limit screen time before bed. Use your bed for sleeping and intimacy only. And a few tips no one follows. Go to bed every time at the same night, and limit large meals and alcohol before bed. Also, being a Canadian, I've included the Canadian model of occupational performance and engagement. As you can see, the OT domains are self-care, productivity, and leisure. What's interesting is that the OT model prevalent in Australia, they add sleep. They must be geniuses, seriously. Why didn't we think of that up here? Let's talk about concentration. The problem is not being distracted, but rather coming back to focus and intentionality. Consider why you are distracted. Are you bored? Tired? Hungry? Is there a biological basis like ADHD or mental health concerns? Depression? Do you need to talk to someone? Access mental health services on campus? We live in an era of continuous partial attention. Essentially, we multitask and are drawn to stimuli. So that means being able to focus is a serious life skill. And it's harder nowadays. Cell phones are designed to be distracting, and Instagram is designed to be engaging. I have a friend, his name is Sam. He would sit in the public workspace area of the library, walk around like he was making an appearance. Then he would write out his list of things to do, get up 5 minutes later, and tell people how busy he is. Then he'd sit down for 10 minutes, get up, and do the exact same thing again. I'm sure you've seen the meme. There's a guy in this coffee shop sitting at a table, not on his phone, not on a laptop, just drinking coffee, like a psychopath. Which leads to mindfulness. I feel like this is relevant because it's hard for us to be present in the moment. Life is busy and it's demanding. Sometimes when we think we're getting ahead, we're actually just trying to stay afloat. I did a practicum in outpatient mental health. We had a few courses for these patients. The topics were developing your best possible self, emotional regulation, and taking control of your life. A few things I learned that helped me when studying for the NBC OT exam was mindfulness strategies. Mindfulness is a practice, which means you have to keep trying these techniques. It's a way to be aware of our emotions before they turn into problems. As a student, you need to find a way to stay focused and harness your fear, turning your fear from a headwind into a tailwind. Breathing exercises. Something which I wish I discovered earlier in my life was breathing exercises. You can do this on the bus, in bed, in the library, or when you're waiting for your lunch to warm up. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 8, and exhale for 8. We're going to take 20 seconds to do it now. Trust me, it's important. So let's come back to mindfulness, and I'll bring these concepts together. So let me ask, how much control do you have over your emotions? Would you call yourself an emotional person? How do these emotions affect your ability to learn and synthesize new information? And most importantly, what can you do to improve your emotional regulation, confidence, and self-efficacy? Instead of doing a deep dive into dialectical behavioral therapy or going over emotional regulation questionnaires such as these, I'm going to share one acronym to help you succeed. If it seems touchy-feely, stay with me. You'll see the value in it. I really like this technique created by CBT therapists Michelle Aries and Carol Vivian. It's called the STOP technique. Let's break it down. As soon as you experience a negative emotion, stop. Take a deep breath. You can even use the breathing exercises that I just shared. Observe. Identify the thought and feeling. What am I noticing in my body? For example, the thought, I'm not going to finish this report, and the feeling, I feel overwhelmed, angry, and upset at myself. Pull back and put in some perspective. Pay attention to how you're feeling. Challenge your thoughts by removing yourself for a moment and enter a bird's eye view. If your friend experienced the circumstance, what advice would you give them? How important is this really? Write down the facts. Practice, proceed. What is the best thing you can do? What is congruent with my moral compass? For example, with the assignment, you might find you have serious issues that require your time and energy. The assignment might be due tomorrow, but it's worth a fraction of your grade. A midterm, say, in 2 days, is a better use of your time. Cut your losses and focus on what matters. Practice the STOP technique multiple times per day so it becomes part of your habit. Components of a good student. What you'll see here is more than the components of a good student. Rather, it's the components of the right mindset. There are a few big concepts in this presentation, and this is one of them. So 2 controversial professors at Yale Law School, Amy Chua and her husband, Jed Rubenfeld, describe the attributes for academic success as the triple package. She's written the memoir, Why Chinese Mothers Are Superior, which has been noted to be a vigilant, overly strict approach to parenting. In her article, she talks about how her kids weren't allowed to attend a sleepover. The kids weren't allowed to choose their own extracurriculars, and they had to play either the piano or the violin. No exceptions. Keeping that parenting style aside for a moment, we're going to look at the triple package, some of the components or traits which she argues leads to success. A superiority complex, a sense of insecurity, and a capacity for impulse control. This is the triple package. So let's flesh these out. Superiority complex, the sense that your particular group is exceptional. Insecure. Initially, this seems contradictory, but bear with me. Insecurity here means that what you're doing is not good enough. You strive to do more. The last one, a capacity for impulse control. I'd liken this to the ability to delay gratification. University can be a fun time. There's lots to do, but you need to stay determined. Even if that means sacrificing hanging out time for boring old studying time. You'll find some assignments just don't add value to your life, or the content feels dull or dry. If that's the case, you'll need to be intrinsically motivated, or as I say, emotionally motivated to succeed. Why else would you want to sit in a cubicle? There was a Stanford psych professor who studied the ability to delay gratification on children. Working with young kids, he would present these kids with a marshmallow and say, "I'm going to leave this on the table and come back in 15 minutes. If the marshmallow is still here, I'll give you 2. Take a moment. What do you think happened?" According to the 1990 study, 2 out of 3 students ate the marshmallow. There was a follow-up study about 15 years later, where the kids who had the ability to delay gratification were more successful. Recent replication studies have argued that the child's social and economic background are more indicative of future success. Nevertheless, what's interesting is that researchers came across one kid who ate the inside of the marshmallow but left the outside intact. This is a child who terrifies me. I would add some things to the triple package. Of course, I am assuming here that you have a good foundation. Good sleep hygiene, food security, access to support, and some spending money. But then what? Let's start with being obsessive. Obsessive means read and reread your notes. A thirst for knowledge, some of which might be dry, boring, seemingly irrelevant. Learn the material to the point where you're very comfortable with it. You've digested the material, and not just to the point where you can regurgitate it, but rather apply it. You're fluent in the material, and you can explain it comfortably. Entitled. Being ambitious on steroids. It's the belief that you're an exceptional person. You're capable and deserving. What you should recognize by now is that intelligence is not a fixed state. Rather, you have to believe you are responsible for your own success. If you're responsible for your own success, this translates to taking your education personally and being emotionally motivated. Let's consider the book by Carol Dweck, a professor at Stanford. There's something called the fixed mindset, and then there's something called the growth mindset. Carol and her team studied students. One cohort had the mindset that intelligence was fixed. The other group believed your intelligence could be improved. What they found was that if you're willing to put in effort, you're increasing your chance of intellectual growth. This resulted in the group that adopted the growth mindset to improve their grades over 2 years. Let's look at commitment awareness. What are you getting yourself into? Plan your semester and prepare yourself mentally. Research the professor. How is the course conducted, and how you're assessed? What does the teacher expect? What is the teacher like? Some courses and professors have a reputation that precedes them. This is where it's important to connect, preferably face-to-face, with a professor or senior student who has taken the class to find out how to succeed. Most teachers genuinely appreciate teaching and are willing to talk to students who are invested in their education. Seize this opportunity. So how is this different than self-awareness? As it says on the slide, self-awareness is a scheduled, honest self-feedback session. When you're stuck, frustrated, or the teacher's expectations seem unreasonable, then you have to switch gears. Sometimes even cut your losses if putting in more effort is not worth the minimum return on investment. You should be doing this with your giant calendar out, so you can visualize what you need to do. You want to avoid dates, assignments, presentations sneaking up on you. If you're spending this much time dedicated to your education, you might as well have a blueprint to guide you. Otherwise, you'll get lost in the weeds. So write these questions down and set a time, perhaps say the first Saturday of the month, to be honest with yourself and complete your monthly review. You have to be willing to learn from your mistakes during your educational journey. For the clinical rotation, also known as the practicum, or whatever they call it in the program you're in, this is where most of the learning happens. But guess what? The classroom piece is huge for how you're evaluated. What I found helped me the most during my rotations is that I made an appendix. An appendix is a collection of your learnings: lingo, documentation tricks or shorthands, treatment approaches, practical skills you've learned. Think of this as your running list and add to it daily. When I was in OT school, I used this document as part of my placement goals. For your own sanity, I would recommend journaling. You will be surprised what's on your mind. Keep it simple and unstructured. This is a great way to decompress your thoughts and learn about yourself while you deal with bridging your textbook knowledge with real-life exposure. AL study rules, the 1 hour rule. This is the other big concept I want you to pay attention to. AL's 1 hour rule. Have a defined goal for your first hour right when you wake up and your last hour before you go to bed. For example, in the morning you're going to shower, eat breakfast, and board transit. In the evening you're going to shower, make lunch for the next day, and read 3 pages of a textbook. Keep it simple. The 80-20 rule. Have you guys heard of the 80-20 rule? There are different takes on it. The basic theme is that roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. In business, 80% of the sales come from 20% of the clients. Here's my take on this as it relates to coursework. 80% of your day when you're awake should be school focused. 20% of your day should be focused on everything else. So let's do the math. 13.6 hours of your waking day should be coursework focused. I can't do this permanently, or else personally I will burn out. As well, it doesn't consider that life happens. But pretty much in this mode, every 15 minutes makes a difference. I understand that if I spend a bit more money on lunch, or if I don't socialize or have downtime, if it's a short period of time, I will survive. The Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique was invented in the late 1980s by Francesco Sorello as a productivity hack. So what is it? It's completing your work in short, digestible intervals. When it comes to the psychology of our behavior, it's more feasible to work for 5 minutes than take a 25-minute break. Wait, that's not right. I mean work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. This should be the gold standard of how you study. Otherwise, you're going to try studying with all cylinders fired, only to find yourself burning out and feeling defeated. In this 5-minute break, get up, stretch, go to the water fountain, or check your phone. After the 5 minutes is up, put your phone away and focus again for 25 minutes. One group. Lastly, this is really important. Have one group for OT school. Teachers will encourage you to have different groups and learn different styles and build networks in the class. And this is true. You should see your classmates as future business colleagues. And at the same time, if you have multiple groups, when due dates start coming around, it just makes it that much harder to meet your groups. So keep it simple and have one group. So what did I forget? I want to hear from you. What are some of the strategies you've used? Write them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram and YouTube.